Can anyone, what do you all see in the picture? Okay, so some have said Bible. Okay, wood is seen. Anything else? Okay, so you have said Quran. Okay, in the first picture you all said the Bible. Now, what do these exactly come under? Scripture, right? So today we'll take a look at the sacred scripture of Jainism. Now we see that in the last class we already looked at the outline, which included the 12 Angas or limbs. Then you had the Angas, which were the secondary texts. Then you have some scattered pieces or just texts here and there. Then you have the 6 Shaya Sutras, a few individual texts, and the 4 Mula Suttas. Now, we will not take a look at all of these in detail, but we'll take a look at some which are significant in our study of Buddhism. So, first and foremost, when we look at the Angas, we see that it basically deals with the life of the monks. And these include sermons or speeches or talks which speak on a variety of themes, as we saw last time. But the most important is Ahimsa. So the non-violent aspect is quite important in these Angas. Now, at the end of the class, there was a question of why the Anga only refers to as limb, right? So, the understanding that is given to this is that because the limbs, in a way, are an important aspect. The Angas are supposed to be an important aspect of the doctrine. And these Angas, in a way, contribute to the complete understanding of Jainist philosophy and practice. Now, when you look at a person, okay, we see that the limbs which are there, these contribute to the overall functionality of the body. Okay, so and therefore we see that similarly these 12 Angas also, they cover topics that are necessary for a person to practice Jainism and understand the teaching. Also we see that there is no overlap. So each Anga has a specific role, and therefore similar to the parts of the body. Therefore we see that each limb also has a specific function. Next we see that this use of the word limb can also be seen as symbolically to indicate the interdependence and the interconnectedness of the text. So just as the limbs work together to support the whole body, similarly these texts also support one another and they provide a body of knowledge that gives a comprehensive idea of the teachings. Now we see that we said that they cover a wide range of topics. Well, these would include ethics, philosophy, then you have cosmology, and right conduct. So how do you conduct yourself? So therefore we see that these 12 Angas, and after this we'll have another 12 Upangas, which are the secondary texts. Now we'll take a look at each of these Angas, and we'll see that these will have specific functions. In the sense, they will be dealing with a specific section of the Jainist teachings of philosophy. So first is the Acharanga Sutra. So this basically will deal with the code of conduct for the monks and the nuns. Then you have the Sutra Kritanga Sutra, which will have certain philosophical discussions as well as refutation of heretical doctrines. So certain things which are not true, which are not this thing, it will also refute those heretical doctrines which may have come up. Then you have the Saranga Sutra, which deals with a variety of aspects concerning knowledge. Can also include, in other words, we can also speak about it as dealing with epistemology. Then you have the Samavayana Sutra, which will once again deal with the numerical as well as categorical classification of knowledge. Then the next is the Bhagavati Sutra, which contains again dialogues on topics such as cosmology and metaphysics. Then you have the Nata Dharmakatha Sutra, which has a few narratives as well as moral stories. Then the Upasakadasa Sutra will have, it will describe the 10 exemplary followers, okay, lay followers and their stories. Then you have the Antakradasa Sutra, which will describe stories of those who have attained liberation. Then you have the Anuttara Papakita Dasa Sutra, okay, which has stories in a way or narratives of souls that has achieved the highest heaven. Then you have the Prasnavya Karna Sutra, which again answers to questions concerning Jaina doctrine. Then you have the Vipaka Sutra, which has stories which illustrate the results or the consequences of karma. And then you have the Drishtivada Sutra, which also discusses various doctrines and viewpoints. Now this is considered to be lost. Now we see that these 12 Angas are quite important for the Śvētāmbara tradition. Whereas we see that the Digambara sect doesn't recognize these 12 Angas. So we see that the Śvētāmbara tradition or the Śvētāmbara sect, okay, it considers these 12 Angas as the most authoritative texts. And these texts form the core of their scriptural canon. That means it forms an important aspect of their teachings. And therefore they have taken various steps to preserve these texts or the 12 Angas either through oral transmission and later to written manuscripts. And therefore, in a way, they have also ensured the continuation of the teachings of Mahavira. So therefore, the 12 Angas are very important for them, form a main part of their teaching, and therefore they have taken various steps in order to preserve it, and also through oral transmission and written and by writing, they have ensured their continuation over the centuries. Then we have the Digambara sect, which in a way does not recognize, okay, it does not recognize these 12 Angas to be authoritative, okay, and they believe that the original texts were lost soon after Mahavira's liberation. And therefore they say that only fragments or interpretations are available. So in the sense, fragments means, suppose you have a big text, okay, over the years, since it has kind of only few pieces of it are available, you don't have the complete set, okay, so only parts of it are available, so therefore the complete text is not available. Why? Because they think that the original text is lost, complete text, only a few parts or pieces here and there are available, and therefore they say that the other things are interpretations made by some later authors. So instead of this, they have their own set of canonical text. Okay, so these you have the Shatkan Dagama and the Kasaya Pahuda, which are again writings by later Acharyas. So after these 12 main texts, you have certain subtexts which are there, and those subtexts are called as the Upangas. Okay, they are in a way the secondary text, as we will have a look at them, and these also deal with kind of their supplementary materials which give further elaboration or commentaries. Okay, so for example, now when in the future you all will have to prepare homilies, etc., you see people referring to certain commentaries, right? What are those commentaries? In other words, no, in a way they are kind of a study done or interpretations by those biblical scholars, right? So they will take a look at each of the words, okay, in Greek, try to analyze it and try to give you a kind of a different meaning. So therefore you see that there is not only one commentary, there are various commentaries which have a different style of approaching. Similarly, here we see that when we look at the Upangas, they also are kind of supplementary texts. So in order to give a better understanding of the Angas, the Upangas kind of give you a kind of a commentary, or they give an additional context. Okay, so what may have been the actual context of that situation under which it was written. Also, you have certain extensions of the primary teachings. Okay, and in this way we see that these are done by scholars, okay, scholars and monks. So after going through the original Angas, if they realize that there was something that needed further clarification, something that needed further, to explain it in detail, they elaborated certain concepts, gave a bit of explanation to it, and in this way, these become a kind of a supplementary text for the Angas. Now, when we are dealing with the Upangas, it is said that there is a person by the name of Jambu Swami. Okay, he is considered to be an important figure in these Upangas, because it was during his time where these Upangas or these supplementary texts were completed. So now who is this Jambu Swami? He is the second direct successor of Mahavira. Okay, so now you will say, is he the 25th Tirthankara? The answer is no. Why? Because first and foremost we see that in Jain cosmology, time is divided into infinite cycles, okay, as we said last time, and each cycle has two halves. Now, which are those? You have the ascending time and the descending time. And therefore, each of these cycle is marked by the appearance of 24th Tirthankaras. Okay, so in the next cycle now, you will have another set of 24 Tirthankaras. So therefore, in this way, Jambu Swami is in a way the immediate disciple Okay, so and therefore he is in a way considered to be the last omniscient being of the current cycle. So it was his immediate disciple, that is, he succeeded Sudharma Swami, who was Mahavira's immediate successor. So he becomes the second successor, and during his period we see that these scriptures or these supplementary texts were completed. In fact, we see that both the 12 Angas and the 12 Upangas all these 24 texts were in a way completed during his era. Okay, and therefore these have served as foundations for Jain teachings and practices over the generations. Now, why do you think that these compilations were important? Was it important for them to compile things together, keep things together? Why? Okay, one of the reason is to follow. Any other reason? Okay, to get a clarity, because as we have seen, there are different topics that are touched upon it. Next, consistency. Okay, so anything else? You also need to transmit knowledge, right, from one generation to another, and therefore we see that if there is something there, you can have some kind of consistency. So here we see that one of the reason or one of the significant factors was that you could now preserve the teachings of the Mahavira. And therefore, these were in a way now preserved in a very systematic manner. And therefore, now we can say that the integrity of the doctrine or the importance of the doctrine was contained for a longer time. Then also we see that transmission of knowledge from one generation to another. And therefore, they served as guides to the monks, nuns and lay persons. Okay, and they are also important for further development, which also gave religious and cultural identity to the Jain community. Okay, so these are in a way the significant factors of these compilations. Now next you have something called as the scattered pieces or the painas. Okay, this all will be available, so no need to write here. Okay, so the PPTs will be already put up in fact. So the painas are the scattered pieces. Basically, in other words, these are kind of diverse texts on a wide variety of topics, and these are available both in prose as well as verse. Now, what is the difference between prose and verse? Prose is like a sentence, like na? Okay, where do we find prose generally? Novels, etc. Verse. What does verse have with it? Speciality of the verse is what? Rhyme, right? We find it in poems, etc. And you have words rhyming. Then also there is a certain scale, right? The count is there. So all these things are present in verse. So here we see that these painas are both composed as texts, also as form of poetry or rhythmic texts as well. Now we see that they deal with a wide range of subjects. Now which are these? You will have again cosmology, then you have rituals, then you have mythology, grammar, astrology, and much more. Now these also are considered to be supplementary texts and these are meant to complement the Angas and the Upangas. And some of these painas which are there, they also have historical material, okay, right from the early teachings, and they in a way help to offer insights about the early development of Jain's thought and practice. Now, the Kalpa Sutra is again another text, and this is a significant text for the Śvētāmbara sect. Now, it is said that the author of this Kalpa Sutra is Bhadra Bahu, and he is said to be the sixth head of the Jain community after Mahavira. Now, what are the contents of this Kalpa Sutra? So, first and foremost, it has details about the life of Mahavira. Okay, a kind of a narrative of his life, which is very important for the Jains. It also speaks about the lives of the precious Tirthankaras. Okay, so the 23 that were there before him. Now, towards the end, we'll take a look at how each of these Tirthankaras contributed in their own way and how Mahavira is finally said to have put things together. Next, also, you have certain monastic rules for the monks and the nuns about how they are supposed to guide the community as well as what things they should follow in the monastery, okay, or in their monastic community. And finally, the last that we need to deal with is the Mula Sutras. Okay, and out of these Mula Sutras, we see that the Uttara Dhyana Sutra is the most important and the prominent one. Now, this again has very important aspects dealing with ethics as well as certain practical aspects of Jain philosophy. Okay, it is widely known in the West, and therefore once again it is partly poetic, partly prose. So it has again narratives, dialogues and discourses. Now, what are the contents, you may ask? So first is sermons and proverbs. Sermons which give deep insight into the teachings, into the practices, and these sermons are meant to instruct and inspire lay people and the monks and the nuns. And similarly, the proverbs also are another way of providing wisdom, like how we have in the Bible, right? You have the proverbs which also give a lot of wisdom through a very interesting manner. Then these also offer advice and counsel. Advice on how to live a life in accordance with the Jain principles, how to be disciplined, okay, what are the important moral rules that you are supposed to follow. And this advice and counsel is both for the lay people as well as for the monks and nuns. Okay, for the nuns, it would be more about what ascetic practices they need to follow, and what spiritual discipline is required. So they also contain certain parables as well as narratives or dialogues. So last time we had the question, right? We speak of Mahavira as the 24th Tirthankara, okay? And he is considered to be like the founder of Jainism. What about the other 23? Okay, he compiled, that is there. So what do you think? The other 23 that came before him, did they have any significance, or why are they called? Okay, what we can do is now, we can take a look at each of these 23 Tirthankaras. Okay, so first one was Rasapadeva, as you all know, and he basically established the spiritual as well as the ethical foundations of Jainism. So he is the one who introduced concepts such as non-violence, truth, and other ethical principles. Next you have the Ajitanatha, the second one. He continued the teachings on non-violence and ethical conduct. Then you have Sambhava Natha, who is the third Tirthankara, and he contributed by giving emphasis on meditation and self-discipline. Then you have Abhinandanata, who thought about detachment from material possessions. Then fifth, Sumatinata, he emphasized the importance of knowledge and wisdom. Then you have Padmaprabha. He is known for his teachings on purity and spiritual practices. Then you have the seventh one, Suprashvanatha, who was known for his principles on forgiveness and tolerance. Then eighth one was Chandraprabha, who was known for his teachings on humility and simplicity. Then you have Pushpadanta, who is the ninth Tirthankara. He was known for his teachings on self-control and asceticism. Then Shitalanta, the 10th Tirthankara, highlighting compassion. Then you have the 11th one, Shreyam Sanata. He was known for his teachings on peace and non-violence. The 12th one, Vasupujya, who was known for his teachings on charity and generosity. Thirteenth one, Vimalanatha, who was known for his teachings on purity of thought plus action. 14th, you had Anantanatha, who emphasized the eternal nature of the soul as well as the path to liberation. 15th was Dharmanatha, again emphasizing righteousness plus ethical living. Shantinatha, the 16th Tirthankara, again known for teachings on peace plus non-violence. 17th was Kuntunatha, known for teachings on discipline plus self-restraint. 18th was Aranatha, again focusing on detachment. Nineteenth, Malinata, inner purity. Then you have the Muni Suvranatha, who was the 20th Tirthankara, who was known for truth, teaching about the value of truth and the pursuit of knowledge. Then Naminatha, the 21st one, again speaking on compassion and benevolence. Neminatha, the 22nd Tirthankara, again speaking on renunciation plus ascetic practices. The 23rd was Parshavnatha, who is the predecessor to Mahavira, and he established the fourfold path. That is truth, non-violence, non-possession, then chastity was added by Mahavira. Okay? Non-stealing. Good. So, we see that it was Mahavira who in a way compiled all these things together. He systematized the teachings. He revitalized the religion by putting together everything what the previous Tirthankaras had done, and he added the fifth vow of chastity. That is why he is considered to be the founder of the Jain religion. Okay, so thank you, and next time we'll deal with some questions and move to the concept of God and soul.